They tried to bury him, not knowing he was a seed. Nico Hale wasn't supposed to matter. A farmer's son with dirt on his boots and fire in his eyes, raised on grit and grief. The halls of Blackridge Academy were never meant for boys like him. Boys with raw minds and calloused hands. He didn't speak their language, didn't bow to their rules. And Principal Lenford made sure he never forgot it, until the day it all came crashing down. A sudden expulsion, no warning, no mercy. Just one cold decision meant to silence the storm brewing in Nico's soul. But storms don't go quietly. Just as the gates closed on him, blades sliced the sky, a black helicopter. And from it emerged the man they all whispered about, Miles Corwin. Billionaire, visionary, kingmaker. With one look at Nico, he saw something no one else dared to. An ultimatum followed. Reinstate the boy or lose your name. $10 million. One chance. In a truth Principal Lenford could never escape again. Because when Nico returned, he didn't come back as a boy. He came back as a reckoning, and this time, he wouldn't leave quietly. Subscribe if you care about those cast aside and want to see what happens when the forgotten rise. A special story waits in the shadows for those who believe in second chances. It was just past dawn when Nico Hale heard the bell toll from Blackridge Academy's chapel. The sky above the cornfields was gray with morning clouds, and the morning frost still clung to the cuffs of his jeans. He stood alone at the school gates, a worn backpack slung over one shoulder, unaware that this day would shatter his world. He had always felt like a trespasser at Blackridge. The sons of senators, daughters of diplomats, they walked with inherited confidence. Nico walked with silence and restraint. His scholarship was a badge of honor to him, a stain to them. The whispering never stopped. That morning it wasn't whispers, it was a summons. Principal Lenford's office was cold, not just in temperature, cold in the way walls watch you like they know a secret. Lenford never looked up when he spoke. He didn't need to. You don't belong here, Mr. Hale. Excellence is cultivated, not inherited from barns. And just like that, it was over. No trial, no defense. Just a neatly folded expulsion letter and a promise that the gates would remain closed. Nico walked. No tears, no pleas. But something inside him broke. Something quiet and deep. The kind of break that doesn't bleed, but burns. That night, the farm was colder than usual. His father didn't speak, just handed him a mug of black coffee. Eyes heavy with disappointment, he didn't say aloud. Nico barely slept. By morning, his name was erased from the academy register. Then the sound came. A thunder in the sky that didn't belong. A black helicopter landed in the middle of the academy lawn, blades slicing through stunned silence. Students watched. Staff froze. And out stepped Miles Corwin, looking like a myth stitched into reality. Tailored suit, polished shoes, and the weight of Wall Street in his briefcase. He didn't ask for directions. He walked straight to Principal Lenford's office like he owned it. Because he did. Within minutes, the school's future was held hostage for a boy they tried to forget. And Nico? He stood outside, watching the smoke of possibility rise. Watching the people who once shunned him squirm. He didn't know why Corwin came. Not really, not yet. But something told him this wasn't about school anymore. It was bigger, deeper, dangerous. As the gates creaked open once more, Nico didn't step through them the same. He carried fire now, and someone was going to get burned. The moment Nico stepped back onto the grounds of Blackridge Academy, something shifted in the air. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was fear. They looked at him differently now. The same students who once snickered in hallways now parted like water around him. Teachers avoided eye contact. Principal Lenford, once towering and untouchable, was suddenly small, his handshake with Miles Corwin still trembling through his bones. But Nico wasn't thinking about them. He was thinking about him, Miles Corwin. The billionaire didn't leave after the donation. He stayed. Set up a temporary office in the old observatory tower, overlooking the campus like a king from a high tower. And the strangest part? He wanted Nico there. The summons came the next morning. Not an invitation, a demand. Come to the tower, alone, 6 p.m. Don't be late. Nico almost didn't go, but something deeper than curiosity, something more primal pulled him forward. That night, the sun bled out behind the hills, and he climbed the winding stairs of the tower with his heart pounding like war drums. The observatory was dim, lit only by firelight and the flicker of old film reels spinning against a wall. Miles Corwin stood by the window, sipping something dark from a crystal glass. The room was filled with maps, old ledgers, and black and white photos. Names circled in red ink, crossed out faces, secrets. "Have a seat, Nico," Corwin said without turning. Nico hesitated. "Saturday. You know why I did it?" Corwin asked. "Why I dropped 10 million on a school that wanted to spit you out like rotten meat?" Nico shook his head. Corwin finally turned. His eyes, cold, calculating, brilliant, met Nico's. "Because you don't belong here," he said. Nico blinked. "Excuse me." "You don't belong in Black Ridge," Corwin continued, stepping closer. "You belong above it. They tried to break you because they saw what I see. Someone too dangerous to be tamed. And I like dangerous people." He handed Nico a folder. Inside were documents, military files, photographs, transcripts, even an audio recording labeled Project Chimera, Subject H. At the center of it all was a name, Arthur Hale, Nico's father. Nico's breath caught. "What is this?" "Your father isn't who you think he is," Corwin said, "and neither are you." That night, Nico walked back to his dorm with the folder tucked under his jacket like a loaded gun. The pages were heavy, the questions heavier. His father had always been quiet, private, haunted. But this, government experiments, classified identities, why had he kept this from him? And why was Corwin interested now? By the time Nico reached his door, a new note had been slid under it, handwritten, no name. "Be careful who you trust. Corwin plays a long game, and you're not the only piece on his board." The fire in Nico's chest burned hotter now. Whatever game this was, it had already begun. And someone was going to lose more than just power. The folder sat on Nico's desk like a live wire. He didn't open it again that night. Couldn't. Sleep came in fits and flashes, interrupted by fractured images. His father standing in the rain with blood on his shirt, men in black uniforms shouting codes, in a voice maybe Corwin's, whispering. He was the first success. By morning, Nico felt the world had changed, though nothing around him had. Same stone walls, same cold classrooms, same eyes watching him. But everything was different now, because he no longer knew who he was. And worse, he wasn't sure he wanted to find out. At breakfast, he tried to act normal, tried to blend in. It was impossible. The whispers returned, but not like before. This time, they weren't mocking. They were afraid. "That's him, the one Corwin came for. I heard he's his son. He's got dirt on the school. Must have blackmailed Lenford. No, man, he's like trained, military level, psycho stuff." Nico clenched his fist beneath the table. He wanted to scream, but he stayed silent. He was used to silence, until she sat across from him. Ella Rowan. She wasn't like the others. Never had been. Too sharp, too curious, too genuine for a place built on masks and money. She didn't speak at first, just watched him with a gaze that felt more like a scalpel than a question. Then softly, "I know what they said. About your father. The files Corwin gave you, half of them are real, half are bait." Nico froze. She leaned in. "You want the truth? Then meet me in the archives. Tonight, midnight." Then she was gone. The archives were forbidden, off limits to students. A relic wing beneath the East Chapel, filled with crumbling records and sealed vaults. By midnight, Nico was there, heart hammering. Ella met him in the shadows, flashlight in hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "I found this a year ago," she said, leading him to a rusted cabinet marked Black Ridge, Legacy Programs. "Didn't make sense until now." Inside, photos of students from decades ago, reports of behavioral modifications, psychiatric evaluations signed off by government officials, a recurring stamp, Chimera prequel, and then one file that stopped Nico cold. A boy, blonde hair, strong jaw, eyes like his own. Name, Miles A. Corwin. Date of birth, classified. "Wait," Nico whispered. He was one of them? Not just one of them, Ella said. He was the prototype. She handed him another photo, a black and white shot of 6 boys in identical uniforms, standing in front of what looked like a remote facility. Nico's father was one of them. So was Corwin. What is this? I don't know, Ella said. But I think Blackridge was never a school. Not really, it was a funnel. For them. For people like your father. For people like... She looked at him. You! Suddenly, crack. A loud noise echoed through the corridor. They froze. Footsteps. Heavy. Intentional. Run! Ella hissed. They fled through the tunnels. Behind them, a figure in a black coat chased them. No badge, no face, only silence and purpose. Nico's lungs burned as they burst out of a hidden door near the gardens, the echo of boots still haunting the stone walls behind them. Back in his dorm, heart pounding, Nico locked the door and pulled out the folder Corwin had given him. This time, he flipped to the last page. Tucked behind the final document was a handwritten note, in ink darker than night. We're not blood, Nico. We're blueprint. M.C. Nico stared at his reflection in the window. The boy looking back, he didn't recognize him anymore. There are truths that cut deeper than lies, and the one Nico just uncovered bled like a wound too long ignored. Blueprint, not blood. Corwin's words haunted him. 3 days passed. No word from Corwin. Ella Deciper show. The school acted as if nothing had happened. Morning announcements, cafeteria menus, pop quizzes. But something was happening. Nico could feel it. In the way his dorm room had been disturbed, though nothing was taken. In the flicker of security cameras suddenly installed in the West Wing. In the tightening noose of control pretending to be routine. They were watching, and someone was missing. Ella. Nico tried to ask around, but walls closed fast. One teacher even warned him, flat out. Let sleeping monsters lie, Hale. You stir things you won't survive. That night he returned to the archives. Alone. But they'd been cleaned out. Wiped. The files were gone. Almost. In the drawer where Ella had found Corwin's photo, one thing remained. A leather-bound book, scorched at the edges. Pages torn, ink smudged. It wasn't official. It was personal. A journal. Arthur Hale's journal. His father. The first entry was dated 25 years ago, and the opening line chilled Nico to the bone. They told me we were building better men. Smarter, stronger, loyal. But what they made were weapons with bones. The entries were fragmented, full of code names and facility names. Argon, Chimera, Black Veil. One phrase repeated again and again. The Seed Protocol. Nico's hands trembled. A later page. Corwin was the only one who thrived. The others, degraded. Madness, mutations. Something in his DNA adapted. He became their model. They took samples from him, used it to engineer the next phase. They called them seeds. They grew them in silence. I helped plant one. God forgive me. His name is Nico. The room spun. Nico stumbled back. He wanted to scream, to punch a wall, to burn the whole cursed school down. His life wasn't his. His father wasn't just a farmer. He was a gardener for a weaponized future. And Nico, he wasn't a boy. He was a design. Later that night, a knock echoed against his door. He opened it to find an envelope. No name, just a key inside and a single note. She's alive. Come alone. M.A. location was scrawled on the back. The boiler tunnels beneath the old theater. 2 a.m. Nico didn't hesitate. At 1:59 a.m., he stepped into the tunnels. Pipes groaned overhead, the scent of rust and mildew thick in the air. He followed the path, heart pounding. The old brick walls grew tighter, the light from his phone flickering. Then he saw her, Ella, bruised, pale, but alive, chained to a pipe. He rushed forward. Click. A spotlight hit them. Doors slammed behind him. Footsteps. Then, Miles Corwin emerged from the shadows. Not smiling, not angry, just watching. You were never going to stay quiet, were you? He said. Nico stood between Ella and him, fists clenched. Why? Nico growled. Corwin stepped closer. You asked who your father was, he said. You should have asked what you were. Behind him, armed men stepped out of the darkness. But Corwin raised a hand. They stopped. I'm not here to kill you, Nico, he said. I'm here to activate you. And then he whispered a phrase, words Nico had never heard, but somehow knew. His head burned. His knees buckled. The world rippled. Ella Grotto. And Miles Corwin smiled, stepping into the light. Welcome home, Subject 7, he screamed. But it wasn't just pain, it was memory. 1,000 whispers etched deep in his bones, rushed up like a tidal wave. The activation phrase Corwin used, it unlocked something ancient, engineered and buried. Nico collapsed, convulsing. His vision fractured. A red hue bled into everything. He saw his father, not as the quiet man in the fields, but in a lab coat, weeping behind glass. Saw himself, younger, asleep in a hospital bed, wires feeding into his arms. Saw Corwin, watching, always watching. He's stable, a voice said. He might be the first to survive the full strain. Not survive, Corwin replied. Thrive. And then, stillness. Nico's eyes opened, but something in them had changed. Ella's chains clattered as she thrashed. Nico, you're stronger than this. Fight it. Corwin tilted his head, almost admiringly. I didn't want it to be like this. But they were coming for us, Nico. The board, Lenford, the people who made us. You were their final weapon. I'm just giving you control. He stepped forward, extending his hand. You can rewrite it all. Together, no more farmers, no more obedience, just power. And for a moment, Nico wanted to take it, to erase the humiliation, the silence, the years of pretending to be something small. But then, he looked at Ella, at her fear, her pain, her faith in him. And he remembered something his father once said, long before any of this. The world will try to turn you into something useful, but you be something good. Nico closed his eyes and shattered the script written for him. He turned to Corwin, voice quiet. Let her go. Corwin's smile faded. You don't give orders, boy. Nico's hands curled into fists, but he didn't attack. He spoke. The same activation phrase Corwin had used, but inverted. A final word from his father's journal. A failsafe. Corwin staggered. Blood trickled from his nose. What did you? He gasped, his knees buckling. You're not the only one with secrets, Nico said. Turns out Dad didn't trust you either. Corwin reached for a gun. Nico moved faster. Not like a boy, like something built. The lights shattered. A gust of force rippled through the tunnel as Nico launched forward, not to kill, but to disarm, to break the machine Corwin had become. Within seconds, it was over. Corwin lay on the ground, defeated, breathing, but changed. I gave you the world, he rasped. Nico stared down at him. And I'm giving it back. They left him there. Ella, limping but alive, helped Nico to the surface. Morning light bled over the hills. The school tower stood distant now, small beneath the sky. I don't know what I am anymore, Nico said. She leaned against him. I do. Weeks passed. The board disbanded Corwin's funding. Blackridge was investigated, then shut down. Corwin vanished. No trace, no obituary. Some say he's rebuilding. Others, that Nico let him live for a reason. Nico returned to the farm. He rebuilt the porch, planted corn with his father's old hands. And on quiet nights when the wind stirred strange and low, he'd feel it, the weight of what he was, the freedom of what he chose. Not a weapon, not a blueprint. A boy who burned their plans and chose to be human. If you've stayed through the fire, through the pain, thank you. A new story waits just over the horizon, and someone else, lost in silence, is waiting for you to care. Subscribe, share, speak, because the world forgets the forgotten until we make them unforgettable.